pressure conditions when the sun is at equinox. Okay, so whatever you saw yesterday, that pressure belt pattern, that is there only when you have your equinox condition. Suppose you don't have equinox condition. Okay, so here you have your equator. Suppose your sun is in the northern hemisphere and you are at summer solstice. Which day is your summer solstice?
June 21st, 22.
It is on June 21st. Okay, so June 21st is your summer solstice. Suppose you have summer solstice, then sun is shining directly on the northern hemisphere. It is receiving more sunlight. So what happens? All pressure belts means north and south, both. All pressure belts shift slightly north. Means they are moving at least 5 degrees by north. That means what happens under ideal conditions? Please write this somewhere. Sun is shining directly on northern hemisphere and all pressure belts shift slightly north. All pressure belts shift slightly north. Ideally, when we saw yesterday, your pressure belt at equatorial low pressure belt was from 5 degree north to 5 degree south. But under this condition, what will happen? Your pressure belt will be from 0 to 10 degree. It will shift 5 degree to the north. Then your pressure belt had to start from 25 degree. Okay, subtropical high pressure belt. Now it will starting from 30 degree and it will extend to 40 degree. Okay, and then your subpolar low pressure belt will extend from 60 degree to 70 degree. And your polar high pressure belt will become very small. It will extend only in the polar region, 85 to 90 degree only it is found. So you see that all the belts are shifting north. So below what will happen? Your pressure belt will extend from 30 to 20. That also has shifted north. This will be extending from 60 to 50. And this will extend from 70 to 90. So everything will shift slightly north. Okay, so you see your books, then you will find it confusing that they would have given big numbers for your pressure belt. They'll tell that pressure belt will extend from 10 degree north to 10 degree south in equator, and it is extending 45 to 25 in case of your subtropical, and 70 to 50 in subpolar, and your polar is also big. So don't get confused. They have added the seasonal shift as well, and they have given a diagram like that. Okay, so the seasonal shift is added. Same thing when you conceptualize, if your sun is shining directly on southern hemisphere on your winter solstice, then winter solstice would appear on December 22nd. So then all the pressure belts will start shifting slightly down. So you'll see that they're shifted down by 5 degrees. So pressure belt shift down, shift south. Okay, so in case of summer solstice, it shifts north, and in case of winter solstice, it is shifting to the south. Any doubts with this much? Is it clear? Okay, if none of you have doubts now, let us go ahead with. Yes, what is your doubt?
Can you explain it again, ma'am, this diagram? 30 degree, 40 degree, 60 degree.
See, there is a slight shift in the pressure belts and it will start shifting north. So yesterday we saw that it was from 5 degree north to south. So it was from 5 degree north to 5 degree south. So when you shift it by 5 degrees, it will start from 0 degree. So it will be from 0 to 10. Similarly, it was 25 to 35, it becomes 30 to 40. Then it was 55 to 65, it becomes 60 to 70. Same way in the southern hemisphere, it will also shift towards the north. So instead of 25 to 30, 35, it will shift to the north by 5 degrees. It will be 20 to 30, 50 to 60, and 70 to 90. So all the pressure belts will see a shift in 5 degrees to the north. When it is winter solstice, same way, everything will come down by 5 degrees, and you will see that there is a shift southwards in 5 degrees. Okay, so if you have understood this and there is no doubt with respect to this, next we will go to your pressure belts individually. When you see it, what will happen to it in case of your solstice? Okay, so what are the conditions?
Yes, one. So, ma'am, it shifts, but the rest of the phenomenon remains same, the rising and sinking and everything.
No, it changes.
Because the sun is now at the subtropical region, now air will start rising from there. Okay.
So now, if we draw your pressure belt, we'll take the condition when sun is in the northern hemisphere on summer solstice, June 21st. So the sun is in the northern hemisphere. So this is your equatorial low pressure belt. This will be your high pressure belt. This will be your low pressure belt. This will be your high pressure belt. First, we'll consider the case of your northern hemisphere, then we'll come to your southern hemisphere. Okay. So when you see this case, where is your equator? Your equator will be somewhere here. Equator will be somewhere here, and your pressure belt will be located somewhere here. This is which pressure belt? Subtropical high pressure belt. Now you have to bring your specific heat and other things. Okay. So northern hemisphere has summer, sun is in the northern hemisphere. I'll explain this very slowly. Please try to understand, don't get confused. So sun is in the northern hemisphere and you have equatorial low pressure belt. Though the sun is here in the northern hemisphere, there is enough sunlight falling on the equator and the pressure belt has shifted by 5 degrees also. So this is your equatorial low pressure belt. So in equatorial low pressure belt, you have enough sunshine and there is low pressure existing in your low pressure belt. So low pressure belt doesn't get affected. Okay, so low pressure belt doesn't get affected. Comparatively, it is receiving more sunlight only. It is not winter for them because equator doesn't have seasons. Equator doesn't have seasons. You don't have summer, you don't have winter. Throughout the year, they receive, high amount of sunshine. That is why they are called as equatorial region and they have a equatorial type of climate. So equator doesn't have any climate. It does, it has climate. It doesn't have any season. So there is no season in your equator. So there is no season. So hence you have equatorial low pressure belt only existing without any difference. Now coming to your subtropical high pressure belt, which is there between 23.5 degree north and 23.5, it is there between 25 to 35 degrees and it gets pushed by 5 degrees to the north. So it is there between 30 to 40 degrees in the latitude because it is in the northern hemisphere. Now you see there is a large piece of continent here and there is substantially large piece of continent here. Continent, what happens to it in summer? Does it heat faster or does it heat cooler?
Faster.
So on continent now, when you have high temperature, so continent will be at a higher temperature during your summer. Sun is directly shining on this 23.5 degree latitude means 25, 35, 40 degrees is receiving direct sunshine, intense sunshine. Intense sunshine, they become hot. They become hot, continent is hot, and now continent is so hot that it starts, rising currents here. Air starts rising from the ground. Why? Because ground is very, very hot. At any cost, now it will not allow sinking of air from the top. So air cannot sink from the top here. And there is, not so much strong currents in equatorial low pressure belt also. Equatorial low pressure belt is also weak. So it doesn't have so much rising current that your tricellular meridional theory will be there and it will start sending from here, sinking. That is not very strong in this season because rising currents in equator is compromised. It is comparatively low. So when you come to patches of continent here, you see there is substantial amount of large part of continent only. It comprises of majority of Asia. It comprises of North Europe, Africa, Arabia, etc. So majority part is there. So when majority part is there, what happens? Land heats up very quickly. It is at higher temperature and it creates low pressure conditions. Originally, the pressure belt was subtropical high pressure belt, but because your ground is hot, it starts sending rising currents and it is sending terrestrial radiations at a higher rate. So sinking of air becomes absent. So in this belt, you see that you have low pressure. But your high pressure continues in your ocean. So here you have high pressure continuation. Here also you have high pressure continuation. Why? Specific heat of water is more. Specific heat of water is more plus water is mobile. So it becomes hot. It has opportunity to move in this direction, It moves around and it brings into a normal stability. So it doesn't heat up that quickly. So your low pressure, high pressure continues on your water. Okay, so wherever on water your high pressure continues, we name it. So your high pressure continues here and high pressure continues here. It is found on this ocean also. So Pacific Ocean patch and your Atlantic patch. In Atlantic, there is an island here known as your Azores Island. So it is called as Azores High. Here you have Hawaii. So it is called as Hawaiian High. Rest everywhere, the pressure belt is disrupted and broken. It is absent. So here you have Azores High in Atlantic Ocean. And here you have Hawaiian High in Pacific Ocean. Okay, clear? So now when you see your impact of your solar insolation directly falling on this, it impacts your subtropical high pressure belt and it is disrupted. What is the pressure belt that is present here? It is subpolar low pressure belt. So already low pressure is there. Your sun is on 23.5 degree north, means your low pressure belt is receiving more sunlight. When low pressure belt receives more sunlight, low pressure is strengthened. Low pressure increases, land heats up, it adds to the low pressure. So there is no impact seen on your subpolar low pressure belt. And your polar high pressure belt is covered in ice. So there you don't have impact of it. Okay, so ice capped. And upon that, in polar region, you don't get intense sunlight also. It is only on your sides. Around the horizon, only you see the sun. So there is no direct impact of sunlight on this region. So it is ice capped. There also you don't find any difference. Okay. Now coming to the southern hemisphere, what happens in the southern hemisphere? So southern hemisphere, you can see One dominant thing that you see in southern hemisphere is there is more ocean. When you see northern hemisphere, see the land is comparatively more. So land is more in northern hemisphere. Whereas in southern hemisphere, you have very less land. So this is one less land here. This is one less piece of Africa and Australia. Okay, so the ocean patches are large. When ocean patches are very large, so what happens? Now, in case of your pressure belt, when it comes to your subtropical high pressure belt, what is the season in summer season? What is the season in your southern hemisphere when sun is in the Tropic of Cancer?
Winter.
It is winter. So in winter, you generally have high pressure. So subtropical high pressure belt, if you see, land is cold in winter. So it adds to the high pressure and it strengthens your high pressure. See, land is cold here and land is cold here. So you originally have high pressure. Under cold temperatures now, it becomes stronger. Subtropical high pressure belt becomes stronger due to winter. Then below you have your subpolar low pressure belt. So if you see subpolar low pressure belt, it falls somewhere here. And there is only one continent and this is tip of your South America. Otherwise, you don't have continental mass only. So there is no disruption at all. So it doesn't get affected at all because it is fully ocean and there is no factor of specific heat at all. So there is no factor of specific heat at all because it is fully ocean. And your polar high pressure belt is also covered under ice. So it is winter season. So it has high pressure. So there is high pressure. So this is the impact of your pressure, impact on your pressure belt when your sun is in the northern hemisphere. Any doubt with this? Hawaiian high in Pacific Ocean, Azores high in Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so if you don't have any doubts with this, please on Monday, you all come to the class and we'll continue with the impacts when it is in the southern hemisphere. Okay, Monday we'll discuss your assignments on your waterfalls. Please make a list and make it in which country and which river it is forming the waterfalls. Then please do one on your deserts also and do one on your Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so Mediterranean Sea, it has 3 continents. So if you see Mediterranean Sea here, it has 3 continents. So one is your Europe, one is your Africa, and the other is your Asia. So I want you to find out which countries fall under Europe, which countries fall under Asia, and which countries are falling under your Africa. So you need to know which countries fall where. Okay, so this time exam your Black Sea and your Mediterranean Sea are going to be important because of the international IR subject, international current affairs going on in that region. So you please make a list of that Mediterranean Ocean, Mediterranean Sea countries also as well. Okay, so any doubts?
Ma'am, with the mountain and valley breeze, so the pattern is same during summer and winter, both the times?
No. Again, it depends. If your mountain is ice-capped mountain, so then there is no heating during daytime in winter. So mountain is not covered in ice, then it is like this. That is why it is seasonal. If it is throughout the years same, then it will become a permanent wind.
Okay.
So it is different. Okay, so it changes. So you have to consider the ice-capped mountains also. So that is why you cannot generalize mountain and sea breeze.